Hi, my name's Ian. Welcome to the channel. If you've not been here before and you have been here before, then welcome back. In this video we're going to be changing the gearbox mount on a rear wheel drive 2.4 litre Ford Transit MK7. Now it would be great if you could watch the video virtually right the way through to the end, because from the beginning of the video this actually progresses from something that I thought was going to be quite an easy job into something that actually was quite scary and quite dangerous at the end of it as well, with regards to what had been done by a previous owner or previous mechanic, etc. on it. So yeah, it'd be great if you could watch to the end. Anyway, we shall jump into what I got on with and I'll catch you at the end. Cheers.
So the plan today is to replace that mount that you can see there, because I can actually see now that it's quite crushed. And you compare it to the new one I have down there on the floor. There's quite a bit of difference between it. And in a minute I'll demonstrate how much movement there is on that gearbox, and I think that's what's causing my vibration problem. Right, I'm going to push the gearbox up and down, and if I can try and demonstrate how much movement there is and what the knockiness I'm getting as well. So I can barely put as much effort into it as if I do it with two hands. Let me see, try it with the other hand. That mount is absolutely knackered. I have to excuse the slightly odd angle that I'm working at here, but I'm laying under the van. But basically I need to undo that bolt there, and there's also another one just over here as well. And once we've got that out, I then need to jack up the gearbox to then be able to get a spanner inside here to undo this mount to the underside of the gearbox. Bit of a stupid idea, but that's what we've got to do with it. I'm not quite sure how well it's recording, but it's a 13mm spanner, basically, or 13mm socket you need to undo this one here and this one here, and I can't get enough purchase on it with my ring spanner, so I'll have to get out a socket instead. That's a second attempt now with a socket. Oh, Jesus. Oh, this is cracked. If it's not snapped, it's this cracked. Yeah, that's not good. Oh, what a beauty. Not a lot of room under here. It's gone. Jeez. Right, so I've now got the two 13mm headed bolts out there that long. Then basically the one up inside there where you can see the spanner hanging on, that's also 13mm as well, so you only need one size of spanner to do the whole job, or socket set. But I think trying to get the socket set in there is quite difficult. But as I said, I need to jack the gearbox up in a bit, but I thought, well, it's still in this position and not moved, is I'll just have a go at see if I just crack that nut off, or the bolt off should I say, before then lifting up the gearbox and pulling it out. I must say, getting this centre bolt loose out of here has been an absolute sob. What I've ended up doing is putting these two bolts back in here and here just to stiffen the whole thing up, and then I got a ring spanner with part of my jack handle attached to it, which gave me a bit of purchase. And finally it's cracked itself loose now, so what I'm going to do now is take out these two bolts now, probably jack the gearbox up a tiny bit higher so I can get a bit more access into there, so I can pull that bolt through, get the bolt out through the centre of that. Well, this is turning into one pig of a job. I managed to get the central one out, and then when I got a bit further in, there's a bolt on the right hand side. You can probably just about see a bolt hole where the bolt is actually missing, and then on the left hand side here I'm just trying to get a bolt undone from there, which is being a little bit of a sod, but I'm just slowly working it. Got some penetrating oil in there and just very slowly working it, put like a quarter of a turn, then work it back again, another quarter of a turn, work it back again, just to slowly get it out, because what I don't want to do is run the risk of snapping that bolt out. As I said, I'm pretty sure the one on the right hand side, I thought to begin with it snapped, but it looks to me as though someone's been in here before and either forgot to put the bolt back in again, or it's fell out, because I know this clutch, on the history of it, that it's had a replacement clutch on it at some point, so this gearbox has been out of this van at some point. But anyway, yes, I shall persist. This is how the whole mount should look like once it's actually fitted to the van. So these two top holes here, they take bolts through them, they go into the gearbox. These two lower holes here are the ones where the bolts come through from the subframe, and then the middle bolt that I took out, which I've now realised I didn't need to take out, goes up in here. So that basically bolts through there, up through there, so basically I'm mounting the rubber section to this plate here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly measure the old, this is the old one, and see how much it's deformed compared to the new one. But I have suspicions now that most of my problems that I've had with banging, clunking and vibration wasn't really to do with this rubber mount, but actually to do with the fact that this top section here had one bolt in through this side, which was only halfway in, and the bolt on this side was completely missing. So fingers crossed, once I get it all back in again, that will solve the problems. But as I said, we'll just have a quick measure and see how much that rubber has deformed. This is probably not complete science, but the old mount measures 48.5 millimeters, and the new mount measures 49.6 millimeters. So there's definite, the old mount's definitely deformed by quite a bit. So the next job we're going to do now is we're going to fit the plate into the new rubber mount. There's only one way it goes in, so you've got this groove you can see on this side, which then goes into the groove on that side. So just push it down until it locates into the bottom, and then we're going to then put the bolt in from the bottom and tighten it up. So right, it's now 2 days later from when I started this video in the first place. We've got this bolt in on the underside of here, but it's not been fully torqued up yet, or tightened up. You can't really torque it up. And then we've also then got a replacement bolt for the other side from Ford. This took a couple of days to get hold of. Cost £5.12 for that one bolt, but it is specialist to do the job of obviously going up through these holes here. So I've got the other one, so we can get this all reinstalled now. The only other thing to note as well is that when you come to put this in, it goes in that way around, is that there is a locating pin just here, which obviously we need to make sure we get that located in before I start putting all the bolts up from underneath. So what I'm going to do now is get set back up again, and then we should then start loosely fitting this back into position. Right, so I managed to get the two top ones on the upper plate screwed back into the gearbox. They're just in finger tight at the moment. I've got the right one in a bit further than what I have the left one at the moment. Then I've also just started threading these bottom ones in, but I won't put those in fully until I've got those top ones tightened up, and then obviously just take the weight off the gearbox then, because I've got it slightly jacked up at the moment with the jack. But yeah, just carry on with it at the moment and come back to you in a bit. Well, to finally tighten it up, I don't know if it's in the picture or not, you can see that little angled handle with the socket on the end of it. That's what you need to be able to fully tighten them up. You can't get anything else in there to do it. So if you've not got one of those, then don't attempt the job. Right, so before tightening up the lower bolts that you can see hanging out there, I just gave the mount a little tap on the left hand side, so that locating pin that I mentioned earlier on is now dropped into its hole. So the whole thing is sitting nice and flat now. So it's been a bit of a pig of a job. I said you need a lot of patience and a few ideas of your own to how to deal with trying to get this thing out, because it's absolute pig of a job. But yeah, if you've got some patience and the right bit of kit, then you can get this job done. Otherwise, if I were you, I'd go to mechanic. Right, that's everything all back in there, nice and tight. Also, it's quite scary the fact that this gearbox mount had only got one bolt in it and one halfway in. It's quite dangerous really as to what could have potentially happened with it. But I mean, okay, I know it is held in with the engine's held in there as well with the mounts as well, but yeah, still a rather dodgy job.
As you can see, we managed to get the gearbox mount back in, as well as its retaining brackets as well, and the bolts back into the underside of the gearbox. I'd like to give a big shout out to Al of 6D Diesels, who actually gave me some inspiration and some guidance on how to actually change this gearbox mount on there, because he basically, on the video that I watched on his channel, he said that they can be an absolute bugger to change, and really bad design by Ford. But yeah, I can see what he means, but with a bit of brute force and ignorance, a bit of patience, etc., then you get the job done. But yeah, if you've got any questions regarding that install, then please don't hesitate to contact me. It'd be brilliant if you could like and subscribe to the channel as well, as I'd like to grow this channel this year. And there'll be more videos coming on the Ford Transit Mark 7 shortly. Cheers.